Have you ever wondered how one moment of pride can destroy an entire lifetime? How a single decision made in arrogance can lead to years of unbearable regret? This is the story of a woman who learned that lesson in the cruelest way possible. And by the time she realized her mistake, it was already too late. It was an ordinary Thursday afternoon when Marcus Chen, a well-respected deputy county administrator, was driving through the downtown area in his official government vehicle. His wife Linda sat beside him in the passenger seat. They were heading to a community meeting across town when something caught Marcus's attention. There, on the corner of 5th and Main Street, a woman was setting up a small vegetable stand. She was arranging tomatoes and peppers in wooden crates, her hands worn and weathered from hard work. The moment Marcus's eyes landed on her face, his expression changed. He leaned forward, squinting through the windscreen. "Stop the car," he said suddenly. His driver glanced at him in the rear-view mirror, confused. "Sir, stop the car, right here, now." The vehicle pulled over to the curb. Linda looked at her husband with concern. "Marcus, what's wrong?" But Marcus didn't answer. He opened the door and stepped out onto the sidewalk, his polished shoes clicking against the pavement. He walked slowly toward the vegetable stand, his eyes never leaving the woman's face. She was bent over, arranging her produce, unaware that someone was approaching. Then she looked up, and the moment she saw Marcus Chen standing there in his crisp suit and official badge, her entire body went rigid. Panic flashed across her face. She quickly turned away, trying to hide behind a stack of crates, her hands trembling as she fumbled with a bundle of carrots. But it was too late. Marcus had already recognized her. "Kara," he said softly, his voice calm but filled with something she couldn't quite place. Was it pity? Sadness? Disappointment? The woman froze. Hearing her name spoken out loud after all these years felt like a punch to the gut. She slowly turned back around, her eyes downcast, unable to meet his gaze. "Kara Williams," Marcus said again, stepping closer. "I can see your face. You don't need to hide." Those words broke her. Right there, in the middle of the busy street, with cars honking and people walking past, Kara fell to her knees. Her hands came together in a desperate plea, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed, her voice cracking. "I'm so sorry. Please forgive me." Marcus stood there, looking down at her with a mixture of compassion and sorrow. He didn't say anything at first. He just let her cry. Linda had gotten out of the car by now and stood a few feet away watching the scene unfold, her heart aching for this broken woman she didn't even know. "Please," Kara whispered, her voice barely audible. "Please tell him I'm sorry. Tell Ethan I'm so sorry for everything." But who was this woman? Why was a successful government official stopping his motorcade to speak to a street vendor? And why was she on her knees, begging for forgiveness from someone who wasn't even there? To understand the answer, we need to go back to a small town in North Carolina where it all began. Kara Williams had grown up in a quiet, close-knit community just outside Charlotte. She was the kind of girl people noticed. She had long, dark hair that fell in waves down her back, bright green eyes, and a smile that could light up a room. From the time she was a teenager, people told her she was beautiful. And Kara believed them. She didn't just believe it, she built her entire identity around it. In high school, she was popular. Boys chased after her. Girls envied her. She walked through the hallways like she owned the place. Her head held high, her confidence bordering on arrogance. "I'm not going to settle," she'd tell her friends over lunch. "I'm going to marry someone amazing, someone who looks like a movie star, someone who's worthy of me." Her friends would giggle and nod, but deep down, some of them wondered if Kara's standards were just a little too high. By the time Kara reached her mid-20s, she was attending the local community college, studying business administration. She still lived at home with her parents. Her father, Robert Williams, owned a small hardware store on the edge of town. It wasn't much, but it paid the bills. Her older brother, Jake, worked in construction and helped out whenever he could. The family wasn't wealthy, but they were comfortable. And more importantly, they were kind, decent people who valued character over appearance. As Kara got older, her parents started to worry. In their traditional view, it was time for her to settle down, get married, start a family. Her father began asking around, talking to friends and neighbors, trying to find a good match for his daughter. After several weeks of searching, he finally found someone. His name was Ethan Parker. Ethan was 27 years old. He had a degree in public administration from the University of North Carolina and was working as an assistant in the county clerk's office. He wasn't wealthy, but he was on a steady path. He was responsible, respectful, and soft-spoken. He came from a good family. His parents were honest, hard-working people who had raised him with strong values. When Robert and Jake met Ethan for the first time at a local diner, they were impressed. Ethan was polite. He listened more than he talked. He spoke about his goals, his dreams of one day working in public service to help people. He didn't brag. He didn't boast. He was just himself. Genuine, humble, real. "This is a good man," Robert told Jake on the drive home. "He'll take care of her. He'll treat her right." Jake agreed. "Yeah, Dad, I think he's perfect for Kara." But there was one problem. Ethan wasn't what most people would call handsome. He was average looking. He had a round face, thinning, hair, and a soft build. He wore simple clothes and wire-rimmed glasses. He wasn't ugly by any means, but he wasn't the kind of man who turned heads when he walked into a room. And for Kara, that was everything. When Robert came home that evening and told Kara about Ethan, her first question wasn't about his character or his job or his family. "Is he good-looking, Dad?" she asked, scrolling through her phone without even looking up. Robert sighed. "Kara, that's not what matters." "It matters to me," she said flatly. "I'm not going to marry someone who doesn't look good standing next to me. People judge you by who you're with. You know that." Her father sat down across from her at the kitchen table. "Sweetheart, looks fade. What matters is the heart. This young man is kind, educated, and respectful. He comes from a good family. He'll make you happy." Kara finally looked up, her expression cold. "Did you even see a picture of him?" Robert hesitated. "Yes. And? And he's a decent-looking young man." Kara rolled her eyes. "That means he's ugly." "Kara." "It's true, Dad. If he was actually good-looking, you'd have said so." Robert didn't know what to say. He'd raised his daughter to be confident. But somewhere along the way, that confidence had turned into arrogance. Later that evening, Jake showed Kara a photo of Ethan on his phone. She stared at it for a long moment, her lips pressing into a thin line. Then she handed the phone back. "No," she said simply. "No?" Jake repeated. "I'm not marrying him." Her father tried to reason with her. Her mother tried to talk to her. But Kara was stubborn. She had already made up her mind. Still, the pressure kept building. In their small town, people talked. They asked questions. When's Kara getting married? Why is she still single? Is something wrong? Eventually, Kara caved. Not because she wanted to, but because she felt cornered. She agreed to the marriage, but only on the surface. Deep down, she resented it. She resented Ethan. She resented her parents. And most of all, she resented the idea that she had to settle. The wedding was planned for a Saturday in June. The ceremony would take place in the backyard of Kara's family home. A small, simple affair with close friends and family. The week before the wedding, Kara barely spoke to anyone. She went through the motions, trying on her dress, picking out flowers, nodding when people asked her questions. But inside, she was screaming. The night before the wedding, she lay in bed staring at the ceiling. "I can't do this," she whispered to herself. "I can't marry him." The wedding day arrived. The sun was shining. The backyard was decorated with white flowers and ribbons. Folding chairs were arranged in neat rows. A small wooden arch stood at the front, wrapped in ivy and roses. Guests began to arrive. Ethan's family came first. His mother, Eleanor, was a sweet woman with kind eyes. His father, George, was quiet but warm. They greeted everyone with genuine smiles. Then Ethan arrived. He wore a simple gray suit and a pale blue tie. He looked nervous but hopeful. He stood at the altar, his hands clasped in front of him, waiting. Inside the house, Kara was getting ready. She stared at herself in the mirror. She looked beautiful. Her dress was perfect. Her makeup was flawless. But her eyes were empty. Her mother knocked on the door. "Sweetheart, it's time." Kara took a deep breath and stepped outside. The music started. Everyone stood. All eyes turned toward her as she walked down the aisle. She moved slowly, her heart pounding, her mind racing. And then she saw him, Ethan, standing there at the altar, smiling nervously, waiting for her. And in that moment, something inside her snapped. She stopped walking. The music continued for a few more notes, then faltered and stopped. People began to murmur. Ethan's smile faded. Kara's father, who was walking beside her, whispered urgently, "Kara, what are you doing?" She didn't answer. She just stood there, staring at Ethan, her face a mask of disgust. Then, loud enough for everyone to hear, she said, "I can't do this." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Ethan's face went pale. His mother covered her mouth. Kara turned to her father. "I'm not marrying him, Dad. I can't. Look at him. He's not what I want. He's not good enough for me." Her father's voice was shaking. "Kara, please, don't do this. Not here, not now." But Kara was done pretending. "If you try to force me, I'll call the police. You can't make me marry someone I don't want to marry." And she meant it. Someone in the crowd, perhaps out of concern or confusion, actually did call the police. Within 20 minutes, 2 officers arrived. They spoke quietly with Kara, with her father, and with Ethan's family. One of the officers, a middle-aged woman with a calm demeanor, addressed the crowd. "If the bride does not consent to this marriage, it cannot proceed. She has the legal right to refuse." Ethan stood there, humiliated, heartbroken, but silent. He didn't argue. He didn't beg. He simply nodded, turned, and walked away. His parents followed, their heads bowed in shame. The guests slowly dispersed, whispering among themselves, and just like that, it was over. As Ethan's family was preparing to leave town, an older man approached Ethan's father. His name was Leonard Dawson, a local farmer who had known the Parkers for years. "George," Leonard said quietly, "I know this is a terrible day, but if you're willing to listen, I have a daughter. Her name is Grace. She's 23. She didn't go to college, but she's kind, hardworking, and she knows how to take care of a home. If your son is willing, I'd be honored to offer her hand in marriage. We don't have much to give, but we'll give her with all our love." George looked at his son. Ethan was standing by the car, staring at the ground, his eyes red. George walked over and quietly relayed Leonard's offer. Ethan looked up, surprised. "Today?" he asked. George nodded. "Only if you want to, son." Ethan thought for a moment. Then he said, "Let me meet her." An hour later, Ethan met Grace Dawson. She was shy, sweet, with soft brown eyes and a gentle smile. She wasn't glamorous. She wasn't polished. But there was something real about her, something warm. They spoke for a few minutes. And in that brief conversation, Ethan saw something he hadn't seen in Kara: kindness, humility, respect. "I'd be honored to marry you," Ethan said. And so, that very evening, in a quiet ceremony with just their families present, Ethan Parker married Grace Dawson. It wasn't the wedding he had imagined, but it was the beginning of something beautiful. Meanwhile, Kara stood in her bedroom, still in her wedding dress, staring out the window as the sun set. She felt victorious. She had stood her ground. She had refused to settle. But deep down, a small voice whispered, "What have you done?" Months passed. Kara moved to Seattle, hoping for a fresh start. She got a job at a marketing firm and tried to forget about the wedding that never was. That's when she met Ryan. Ryan Mitchell was everything Kara had ever dreamed of. He was tall, over 6 feet, with dark hair, piercing blue eyes, and a jawline that could cut glass. He drove a BMW, wore designer suits, and always smelled like expensive cologne. He was charming, confident, and smooth. When he asked Kara out, she felt like she'd won the lottery. They dated for 2 years. Ryan wined and dined her. He took her to fancy restaurants, bought her gifts, and told her everything she wanted to hear. "You're the most beautiful woman I've ever met," he'd say, looking into her eyes. "I'm so lucky to have you." Kara was head over heels. She convinced her parents to meet him. They were hesitant, but Kara was insistent. "This is the one, Dad. This is who I'm meant to be with." And so, despite their reservations, they agreed. Kara and Ryan got married in a beautiful ceremony overlooking the ocean. It was everything Kara had ever wanted. For the first 6 months, life was perfect. But then, slowly, things started to change. Ryan began coming home late. He smelled like alcohol and perfume. When Kara asked where he'd been, he'd brush her off. Out with clients, babe. Relax. But Kara wasn't stupid. She started noticing things. Late night phone calls, text messages he'd quickly delete, lipstick stains on his collar. One night she confronted him. Ryan, are you cheating on me? He laughed, actually laughed. You're paranoid, Kara. You're imagining things. But she wasn't. A year into the marriage, Kara gave birth to a baby boy. She named him Noah. She thought having a child would bring them closer. Instead, it pushed them further apart. Ryan started drinking more. He'd disappear for days at a time. When he came home, he'd be drunk, angry, and mean. You're always nagging, he'd shout. I can't stand it. Kara tried to hold it together. She tried to be the perfect wife, but nothing she did was ever enough. 2 years later, she had another child, a baby girl named Emma. By then, Ryan had stopped pretending. He openly admitted to seeing other women. What are you going to do about it? He sneered. You chose me, remember? You wanted this. Kara was trapped. She had no job, no money, no way out. And she was too ashamed to go back to her parents. After 3 years of hell, Kara finally found the strength to leave. She took her 2 children and moved into a tiny studio apartment on the outskirts of Seattle. She had no education, no recent work experience, and no support system. The only job she could find was selling vegetables from a street cart. Every morning, she'd wake up at 5 a.m., load her cart with produce, and head to her corner. She'd stand there for hours, smiling at customers, calling out prices, trying to make enough money to feed her kids. It was humbling. It was exhausting. But it was honest work. And for the first time in years, Kara felt a tiny spark of pride. 3 months into her new life, Kara overheard 2 customers talking. Did you hear about Ethan Parker? He just got promoted to deputy county administrator, youngest one in the state. Kara's heart stopped. Ethan, the man she had humiliated, the man she had rejected, he had gone on to build an incredible life, and she was selling vegetables on the street. That night, she cried herself to sleep. Not because she wanted Ethan back, but because she finally understood what she had thrown away. Then came the day everything changed. Kara was setting up her stand when a black sedan pulled up. A man in a suit stepped out. It was Marcus Chen, Ethan's best friend from college. Marcus walked over slowly. Kara Williams, he said. She looked up and her world collapsed. I'm sorry, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. Please tell him I'm so sorry. Marcus nodded. Ethan's happy, Kara. He has a wife, 2 kids, and a career he loves. He never spoke badly of you. He just moved on. Those words shattered her. Marcus bought some vegetables, paid her double, and before he left, he said, Your kids are lucky. Keep going. As he drove away, Kara stood there, tears running down her cheeks. And for the first time, she didn't feel ashamed. She felt grateful. Grateful for the lesson. Grateful for her children. Grateful for the chance to do better. Moral of the story: pride and superficial judgments can destroy your future. True worth lies in character, not appearance. Listen to those who love you, because by the time you realize your mistake, it may be too late. Call to action. If this story moved you, subscribe for more real-life lessons and share this with someone who needs to hear it.